Bueno, pues vamos a seguir con el foro. Tras las palabras de introducción de nuestro presidente, quiero dar paso, and I want to do it in English, porque este panel se va a hacer en inglés. I would like to continue now the introduction of the following panel, where we will be dealing with the tourism post-COVID, and the new challenges and the new global mega tendencies that will affect our sector in this year and this coming years. For this, I have the privilege and the honor to invite to come on the stage, first of all, Ms. Angela Brav, the CEO of Hertz International. Anyway, if you allow me, this is with mine. Then I would like to call Gabriele Burgio, the chairman of the Alpitour Group from Italy. Gabriele Escarrer, which in this panel is with the helmet of CEO of Meliá Hotels International. And let me just cross the Atlantic and give a very warm welcome, first of all, to Steve Kaufer. I don't see you on the stage. Good early morning, Steve, for you. I think it's around 3 o'clock in the morning in Boston. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the effort of being online. Thank you also from across the ocean also, but a nearer place, to Craig Barkley, who will be joining us as the General Manager and Vice President for Europe for American Express, Lifestyle and Travel. Craig, good morning, and thanks for joining us. Thank you. Well, all of the 5 are well-known and very reputed leaders and companies which are a reference in their various fields, so I won't go any further in describing who do we have the pleasure of having you today on board. I will go straight to the first question. And it will be the same one for all you 3. I would like, Steve, if you allow me to start with a question, which will be, from the privileged position you have at a global level, what do you think will be the 2-3 main tendencies, key issues, to be considered by the tourism industry in this coming 2022? You have here in the hall a lot of decision makers from the public sector and the private sector, and I'm sure you can give us some highlights on how, from TripAdvisor, you view the main issues to be considered in 2022. Whenever you want, Steve.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm thrilled to be here, albeit virtually. Maybe I can start, dive right in, and try to represent the traveler's perspective. Every survey we've been doing over the past year, especially in the past couple of quarters, has been showing travelers are eager to get back and do what they love to do, which is, of course, travel the world. There is no question, in my mind certainly, that once given the opportunity to travel safely, leisure traffic comes roaring back. We saw this in the third quarter in the United States, where the vaccination rates were good, the domestic travel was strong, and we were exceeding. It's now as we continue to grow all around the world. The number one question travelers have is, tell me what I have to do in order to travel. What do I have to do to prove I can get into the country? Do I need a vaccination card, a negative test? Is it PCR? Is it antigen? What's going to be open at this hotel or restaurant or activity? Can I swim in the pool? Is that great hotel restaurant still open? What's the dining capacity? Can I eat in my local restaurants? Do I need a local pass card to get in? Or will my country's vaccination card suffice? Heaven forbid I get sick. Are there medical facilities that can take care of me? And then, of course, the big, can I get home, or will I be stuck wherever I'm traveling to? So my first challenge is providing enough information for travelers. Well, that's great marching orders for TripAdvisor, but most importantly for governments and also hotel and general hospitality owners. I mean, the simple test I have for everyone listening might be, if you have a website aimed at your customers, is it up to date with all of the coded information that their customers are looking for? And do you explain that it is in fact up to date as of now, or as of last week, or as of this month? Consumers are hungry for this information. They will travel as soon as they feel comfortable, and having you and the government sector provide that information. I was taking a trip myself internationally, and between myself and my executive assistant, we were quite puzzled with all the different criteria that it took us in order to travel merely to a few countries in Europe from the United States. So my first challenge is very simply, how can we provide enough information from all of our different perspectives so the traveler feels confident that they know what to expect? They are willing to live with certain limitations, absolutely. They just want to know in advance.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. I would like to get the point of view of American Express. Which you think will be key issues that drive tourism in the forthcoming months, from your perspective?
Luis, I think, as Steve said, we're absolutely excited that the first trend we're seeing is that after 2 years of staying at home, people are traveling, and we're seeing some numbers that are exceeding 2019 levels, which is exciting for everyone in the room. We actually conducted a survey last month of residents in Spain, and the response to what 2022 looks like is exceptionally strong. Almost 3/4 of those that were surveyed were determined to take trips, and some have already, almost 30% of those have already made those plans for 2022. We're also seeing, with all of this complexity, which is good news for American Express travel, the resurgence of the travel advisor. So when people are traveling, there's uncertainty, there are changes, you need to stay up to date with travel requirements. And even the most seasoned traveler is now looking for that trusted advisor to make sense of all of these changes and rules. So we are happy to have round-the-clock access at American Express Travel across 23 markets, 13 languages, so that when you need us most, we're there with that single phone call to make changes to your plans. But I think the most exciting trend we're seeing is the changes in behaviors of all of our travelers. So domestic travel remains really important as we get into 2022. We're seeing that with our survey, but I don't know about you, I'm sure you can detect the Scottish accent. I've seen more there, so we're definitely embracing more our domestic travel. Sustainability comes through very clearly in all of the conversations we're having with tourists right now. So thinking about the local communities, thinking about how they can embrace local restaurants and investing in local communities, and also increasing that level of experience. So travel is no longer about the trip, it's really about the experiences that we can create as we travel. So there's some of the trends that we're seeing coming through in the data right now and the interactions that we're having with our customers.
Thank you very much, Craig. I would like to give the word now to you, Angela. You play definitely a key role in providing the extension of the tourism expenditure with your cars around the places that you serve. What are your views from the rental-car industry? What will we be foreseeing in this coming months?
Yeah, look, first of all, I want to thank you for the conference and for everybody showing up, because I think the first thing that's most important is that we lead the way and show that travel is safe, and that we kind of leave our homes and we're here together talking about the issues facing our industry of travel. So thank you, and thanks to the audience. But look, I agree with everything that's said, of course, by what was just stated. I think the government needs to play a key role in our industry, in the hospitality industry, and making it easy for people. I mean, why should they have to research 20 different places to figure out how to come to Spain? The government with us and our help should make it very easy and very fluid for people to know that when they come to Spain, they're going to have a great experience and they're going to be safe, and they're not going to be held up at the airport worried about if they can actually get here, or more importantly, how are they going to get home. And I think government plays a key role in that. I mean, the confusion is just ridiculous. Even just flying here for me, I was within like a few minutes of turning back around, because one of my immunizations is in the UK under the NHS and the other is in the US. So they didn't want to accept the NHS one, but they were okay with the one that I got in the US. So, even just getting here, I'm sure if, we're all used to traveling, but imagine somebody who's not used to traveling having to deal with that kind of stress. So I think that's really important for us to be able to overcome that. And the issues, of course, specifically to my industry, mobility, is it's not just rental cars. It's, I say we transport people and we transport things. So it's more than just rental cars, but it's sustainability and making sure that, we don't force people in this, that we lead in sustainability and we don't force people. We bring them along as opposed to forcing it on them. So for example, with EVs, my dream, my vision is that our industries help people trust EV vehicles, electric vehicles, so that when they rent with us, they have such an amazing experience that they want to buy one, when they go home. And that's really important. But in order to do that, we need the infrastructure. So we need governments to put infrastructure in so that people want to have EVs, so that they can use EVs. So, and it's a chicken or the egg. The government says, well, you need to get more cars. We can say, look, I can get thousands of cars, but if we can't charge them, they'll be left, people won't want them. So, the government needs to step up and provide that. And we need to work closely with our partners, people like, New Shell, who we're working with, to make sure that we have the infrastructure so people can be environmentally and socially responsible, because I think that's what people want. We don't need to force people there. They want to do it, so we just need to make it easy for them. And I think lastly, because I could go on for days, but another key issue is inflation and how that's going to affect labor and people and our ability to get the best employees. So one of the things that I think is a big challenge in Spain is working with the unions. What the unions need to understand is that we're not trying to create a negative experience for our employees. We want to do the right thing for our employees too. It's not just them. So how can we together deliver an amazing experience so that employees want to work for us together? So it's not just them representing the employees. We represent the employees as well. So when I go to the airport and I see, that we have these big barriers, in front of our registers, where the customer has to lean over like this so they can sign the document. I mean, that's ridiculous. We've got masks, we've got plastic, and then we have barriers. I mean, it's, what are we trying to prove? So I think we've got a ways to go. But lastly, in order for us to be successful, we have to understand that everybody has to be successful. The airlines have to deliver a great experience. The hotels have to deliver a great experience, and we do our part in that. But one alone doesn't work. All of us have to be in this together. So
thanks.
That's my
you're getting
perspective.
deep into the issues that afterwards will be in the following questions, but I understand you agree also that information, lifting barriers, and having more of a personal touch without frictionless type of services could be some of your tendencies that you envisage we should be following. Gabriele, you are, I don't know whether I call you an Italian citizen or of half a Spanish citizen, but you definitely know this country very well, and you are now have the privilege of leading the biggest and most important tourism integrated group in Italy, which over 60% share of the market. What is your view of what is going to happen in Europe, in this world, in this 2022, and what would be the key issues from your point of view that we should be taking into consideration?
Thank you for the questions. It's complex, but I'll try to answer. I think what is reassuring for us that we work in the sector is that the demand is there, is very solid, is compressed by the situation. But in Italy, we have a very strong government in terms of restrictions on traveling. And every time that there has been an opening, we see our booking center really overloaded by requests. The 8th of November in Italy, they allowed vacations to Maldives, the Dominican Republic, and Egypt, and we got to a situation where we were making 10, 12,000 trip proposal per day, so a very gigantic demand. So the demand is there. What is the big obstacle for the demand from now on, so the next few months, in my opinion, is to manage this long wave of uncertainty. What was referred to before to the bureaucracy of, even within our own country, but even within Europe, the bureaucracy is different in the way you can manage traveling. As you know, you need PCRs, you need antigen, 24 hours, 48 hours, yes to go, then they are lifted, they are put in place again, and this creates a lot of uncertainty, which makes people nervous, because people are afraid, especially to be stopped at the custom, be stopped at the desk or the check-in of the plane. This on top is, in my opinion, the uncertainty is even increased by the fact that a lot of what should be controlled is not controlled. I travel basically every week. I have statistics. I rarely have been asked what laws are asking you to bring with you. So the passenger locator form, the green pass, the boarding pass, blah, blah, blah. So I think we will need time. We will need time and to make people more at ease with the travel concept. Then there we see different pattern in the behavior of customers, but this can be another subject. So we need time to digest. We need time to convince people that it's safe again. It's safe. And especially people are afraid to fall, to be sick abroad, far from home, with the need of quarantine. And this, it makes people extremely nervous. So I'm positive, because when you see the demand, such strong demand, I think this makes us, we have to be patient and wait to this crisis. I think governments are not helping. The press is not helping. Journalists, I think, prefer to put bad news on the front page than good news, and this is creating a lot of, is not helping us at all.
Thanks, Gabriele. Well, another Gabriel without an E, Spanish Gabriel. I remember you explaining me in a couple of times we talked that your central reservation systems during the pandemic have been more information centers on how
Absolutely.
they could travel than making reservations for your hotels.
Yeah.
I think a common issue that has been raised by all the ones is the issue of how to sell security, how to sell certainty that travel is safe and in which conditions. But again, I don't want to take your role of answering how do you view from Melia the main issues to be taken into consideration.
So, as you said before, the most important thing, the trend, is that the willingness of the people to travel, the desire to travel, and the demand is there, and that's the best good news for the whole industry. But the most important thing, we need to focus, at least in the short term, in the next following months, to sell health safety, because I wouldn't say it's the unique selling point, but it's very important to provide to the customers the perception that they reach a place, a country, a destination, a hotel, a transportation, wherever, that safety, health safety is one of the top major concerns. The second one is to provide the customers flexibility, and it's needed because, as you said before, with this level of uncertainty, we need to provide the customers a quick and agile response if they want to cancel their bookings, the reservation. The other trend that we have seen is the preference for domestic and regional travel, what we call the short haul. I'm sure during the year we're going to see this long haul, but for the next 6-7 months, in our opinion, most of the travelers in Europe will travel to Europe, from the Americas will travel to the Caribbean, and from North Asia will travel to Southeast Asia for leisure purposes. But at least for the next couple of months, the long haul will be very limited, in our opinion. What we've seen already as well is a more propensity for luxury and superior exclusive products and service. And we've seen that the products that in our web sell the best are the top high-end, the luxury, and so people not only are wanted to travel, but they wanted to spend and to have a unique experience during their holidays. And that is completely different from previous crises that we've seen. Another trend that we have perceived is the digitalization and more direct relation with the customer. And I would say that even hyper-personalized relationship with the client. Nothing compared to what it was used to be previously. And the other trend that we have perceived from the customers is the mindset of more sustainable and consumption habits. The traveler wants to feel part of a company that cares about the environment, that cares about their employees, that cares about their customers. So there is another perception from the point of view of the customers who are willing to pay even more if you deliver this perception of sustainability in all senses.
Well, thank you very much. I think you share, and I don't want to summarize your views, not to take time from other questions, but I think you have shared a couple of views in common on what should we be taking into consideration in the next coming months. I would like now to go straight into some more specific questions to you, and I would very much appreciate, in order to have as many questions answered as possible, if you can have short answers. The first one, I will go again following the same round. Steve, according to your internal insights, you have an excellent, most probably one of the best informations around the world on consumer patterns and demands. Who do you think are the main destinations around the world that will recover earlier from this pandemic, and why? And if you can pinpoint some Spanish ones, if you have them on your radar also. But in principle, around the globe, which will be the countries that in your perception, or from the insights you have, will have the best chances to recover?
Sure, thank you. I would start with what we saw during the pandemic was much more activity around the outdoor, nature-related activity, more away from the city center. So Tenerife, Mallorca are going to be quick to recover. In Spain, they did a little bit better than other areas. But we have now seen in many of our countries, particularly the US, a strong resurgence of the city. So it won't be back to normal in terms of the big urban areas, but in Spain you will see Madrid and Barcelona start to recover much stronger than they had in the past couple of quarters. Globally, you're going to see the big destinations, like the most popular ones, will continue to rise in the ranks. We saw that already in this past summer in the United States with the most popular, that evergreen New York, Orlando, Las Vegas regain a lot of their 2019 momentum.
And what about internationally?
Again, you're most likely, in my opinion, to continue to see the Paris, the Rome, the Venice, again, mentioned several beautiful cities in Spain. London is forever popular. So I don't think you're going to see the biggest change. If we wind the clock forward a full year, I think the cities that were very popular in 2019 will regain their popularity by the end of this year.
Okay. Craig, according to the report you just mentioned, you just recently made, apparently one of the conclusions is that a slow tourism is emerging or consolidating as a new, very solid trend. Can you explain what that means from your perspective? And if it's proving to be popular also in Spain, and if in Spain we should be looking at this tendency as a priority?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, perhaps the pandemic gave us all too much time to think about what's important to us. I think that's the trend that we saw, was that people were really thinking about what was important to them. So traveling with purpose, having a positive impact on local communities, being mindful of the environmental impact, is some of the examples of how the mindset is changing the itineraries as we go into 2022. Slow tourism is one of those examples. So this idea that people want to truly immerse themselves in the local communities and in the destinations that they're traveling to, intentionally taking longer trips so that they can do that. So diving into the culture, exploring local communities and supporting local businesses. We really expect this to be popular in Spain. So of the survey that we did, 40% of those that responded say that they would opt for that type of travel this year, so taking longer to do their trips. And almost 3/4 of those respondents said they're passionate to traveling to destinations that help boost local tourism and the local economy. So I think it's really important as we look at that into this year. And the real trend there is really about not just the destination, but the experience. How do we create an experience around the destination? What makes that destination stand out, whether it's food, wine, wellness, whatever that might be that you want to sell in your destination, and it's important to lead with the experience rather than just the destination.
Will that apply only to the Spanish citizens, or you would also think that foreigners will favor the same tendency when traveling to Spain?
We're seeing exactly the same across the international market, so it's not just about Spanish tourists, it's definitely about our global tourist that is looking for that immersive experience. And I think Spain is an ideal destination to create those experiences as well.
Well, thanks a lot for the compliment and for the tendency. If that helps us to improve what we call here the empty Spain, that requires maybe a little bit of more attention. Angela, you started hinting some of your strategic direction. You, reputed as a leader in the electric car race for rental cars with the alliance you made recently with Tesla. But I wonder how real, or how short we can expect the electric vehicle to become a real fact for tourism, considering costs, considering infrastructure. What are your views on this shifting paradigm from the regular traditional car into the electric car, and how will that affect tourism?
Well, look, that's a complicated question you're asking, and you want me to be very brief. First of all, let me start with a good thing about COVID. A good thing about COVID is that it's allowing us to reset. People have kind of been trapped in their homes for a couple of years, and they have these maybe preconceived notions of Spain or wherever they're going. We have an opportunity to kind of reset and really get it right and be more forward thinking about the customer and what their expectations are, and provide them with service when they want it. And when they want a touchless experience, they get a touchless experience. And if they want support and service, that they get service, and we don't force them no service. Try to make a booking with one of the airlines and get somebody on the line. It is absolutely impossible. So we can't just assume everybody wants a touchless experience or they want no customer experience. I think we have to have a balance. So that, I think, is really important, that we don't think that, we don't lead the direction, the customer to something they don't want. But to answer your question about EVs, I think some countries will be leading and some of them will be lagging. And I think it depends on the government and the support and the infrastructure as to how successful that the country is. Of course, we signed, we did a deal with Tesla. We're thrilled to have Teslas in our fleet. They're amazing cars, but there are also lots of other EVs. I think, that we want our customers to be able to rent as well. I think that it will come down to the infrastructure. And our job is to make sure that we work closely with partners to ensure that the infrastructure is there and that we deliver an amazing experience, not just an average experience, but an amazing experience. And I think safety and cleanliness are just cost of doing business. And I think to punctuate that, I think is almost, I don't want, a sterile environment for my customers. I want that to be a given, that they know when they rent with Hertz, it's going to be safe, it's going to be clean, and we know that brands are particularly important, especially in an environment like this. People trust brands, and brands represent something important to the customer, and I think that needs to be really solidified in the consumer's mind.
I think you made a very important point, that brands give a confidence in what is behind, and definitely a company like yours is providing that. Gabriele, big integrated groups like is yours have great challenges on how to proceed and how to compete in this world. I would like to ask you, how do you view the future of the conventional, and by saying conventional, I'm not judging, but the conventional tour operator integrated with transport companies, distribution companies, lodging companies? How is that going to be evolving? in this near months, because for Spain, even though we keep talking about technology providing the opportunity of arriving directly to the customer, and therefore a lot of companies are betting on that, a vast majority of the Spanish tourism industry is still relying on tour operators and conventional tour operators, not only the Italians, but basically the German ones. What is your view about the future of tour operating in this so complex environment?
Well, first of all, I challenge the word conventional, because tour operating, like all other industry and providers, are changing a lot. And we still have this hat of old guys trying to organize travel, putting together various components of the vacation. But it's been we have been going through a very important transformation, and I would say in many cases this pandemic situation has helped us to take decisions that we would not have otherwise taken. Why? For tradition, for friendships, for systems, etc., etc. So now tour operators and also the travel agencies have a role in organized travel for the uncertainty that the situation has created. So people are going through the system of the organized travel because they're afraid of making a mistake. As we said before, they're afraid of the uncertainty. They want to be informed. And technology is helping a lot our activity, like any other activity. But in our case, is to be much more in contact with our customers and being able to provide the information that is required to make the situation, the travel safe, as Gabriel was saying before. Another situation that is helping our activity, in fact, we see, for example, in our country, that customers are now buying more through our own systems than to the do-it-yourself, if you wish, is that the alternatives. We see a growing request of new travel, new vacation, but at the same time we see a lot of cancellations, because every time there is an article, you can plot the articles or the press releases with the reservation, and you see how the thing is changed. So we are able to give alternatives, we are able to exchange down payments with other kind of things, and in my opinion, tour operators have this opportunity to be able to exchange the purchases in a very fast way, giving alternatives. So that is also the flying experience, which is another stuff, very interesting, but anyway, we have to be short. So
for years, tour operators were betting on being the cheapest providers of travel packages.
No, they're more flexible.
No, I'm saying earlier. Now you bet on providing security, not only health security,
and
but
flexibility
security
a lot, flexibility.
And flexibility to the customer.
Yeah, because safety, we provide safety because we have direct flights from, for example, from Italy to Seychelles with our own planes. So passengers are tested before boarding, then they are followed, and so our rate of people that got COVID is 0.25 in our whole winter. In Italy, we are at 15, 16, 17% of people that are found
Let me ask
sick.
you this question, because you brought an attention something which is curious. This capsule approach of selling travel, where they travel on your own planes with your own security for sure.
You with our own hotels in the other side.
You go to their own hotels. Is this a good approach? Is this an approach which is working for the Italian market?
But it's been, look, when in November we were planning to do 3 flights per week to Sharm el-Sheikh, we got to 18 per week. In Maldives, we're planning 1 flight with the 787, so it's a big plane, and we got to 3 per week. So people like to be in this capsule. I like the word, protected.
Okay, Gabriel, in the travel and lodging industry, who will be the winners and losers in these coming months?
The winners will be the company who has been taking care of their stakeholders during the pandemic times. The companies who have taken care of their employees, their customers, their shareholders, in our case, the hotel owners and the suppliers. So in my opinion, this is a clear message. And I'm sure that the whole community will take into account the companies who took care of the shareholders who they have left in some other cases. The other winners are the ones who had financial strength in the past, because in order to survive these 22 months of huge tsunami, you need to have the financial strength. For the hotel companies, the one that will recuperate the sooner and will have a competitive advantage is the one that have developed in the past their loyalty programs, their own distribution system. Just to give you an example, previous to COVID, Meliá generated around 37-38% of our total revenues through Melia.com. Last year was almost 2/3 of the total revenues. Once the market will stabilize, and I don't know when it's going to take place, probably somewhere during this year, I'm sure this number will grow up till 50-something%. But I give us, in my opinion, a clear competitive advantage. First of all, to reach the client. Second, to have a better understanding of the customers, to maximize the yield management, and to minimize the intermediary cost. So in my opinion, the ones that have been going through this digitalization process, including the loyalty program, are the ones that will be the clear winners. The others are the brands with soul. In my opinion, is very important that when we talk about to sell experience, these experiences has to go directly to the heart of our customers. So the brands that will have soul, I'm sure, will be the clear winners. And with this soul, the sustainability, I'm sure, will play a major role. So in my opinion, these are the clear winners in the hotel industry from now on.
Just let me make a very quick question. What you're putting on the scenario is
everything.
a capacity of companies to be able to generate this economy of scales. We have a very fragmented lodging sector in Spain.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying in some diplomatic words is that alliances, takeovers, and fusiones is what is coming into the industry?
With the issues that we have with the COVID, I'm sure we are facing a scenario that was not before. So the critical mass and the synergies are needed. So I'm sure there's going to be a consolidation in the whole industry, and mainly in the hotel industry. If this consolidation will apply, mergers could be the case, but as well, I see, at least from the Meliá point of view, a great opportunity from the organic point of view to keep growing from independent hoteliers who previously used to work with no brands and with a huge dependency of the intermediaries. So they will have very good options to go under the umbrella of Meliá or some other hotel brands.
Okay. So let's get into a third question, Steve. I would like to ask you, as demand comes back, and let's hope that we get into sooner than later, how can travel companies make sure they're ready to capture this demand opportunities growing? What would be your messages, and what would be the tools, or what would be the strategies to follow for catching back demand when it starts appearing seriously?
A great question, thank you. I would start with, where do you think that demand is? And I'd point out it's likely to be, in my opinion at least, likely to be more leisure-focused than business-focused initially. So if that's where the demand is, lean in those channels. We've seen a tremendous leaning in from major travel advertisers, Maria Barcelo as two excellent brands, and folks that have joined into our platform in order to take advantage of what someone else alluded to earlier, this reinvention of travel, or capturing the mind share of the travelers as they figure out what their next new trip is going to be. This leisure demand is just going to be roaring back over the course of this year. And those companies or individual businesses that are out in front of it with their marketing message as to how they're different, how they're appealing to those particular new use cases, and taking the financial risk of marketing themselves in front of the revenue that usually fuels it. So again, the companies that lean in these trends, I think are gonna do quite well over the course of the year because barring unforeseen circumstances, we know the demand is going to be there.
Thank you very much. Greg, an indirect question, but similar to the one I posed Gabriele, not as much as a tour operator, but having so much info available, blogs, travel forums, social media, so much information at the fingertips. What is the role that travel agents and people on the travel industry in the intermediation can provide to customers in order to grab their attention and conclude business with them?
Yeah, great question. I think, there remains so much uncertainty around travel right now. And what we're saying to our travelers is the key to a successful travel plan is to plan ahead and accept that something's going to change in those plans as you get closer to the travel date. So we need to have that mindset of flexibility in our customers. And I think Omicron has been a really true reminder that things can change. I guess the good news is that the resources are available, but I think, as Angela said, there are so many that we need people to make sense of those resources in order to make your plan successful. So despite having 100 years of experience in the industry at American Express Travel, we're still seeing changes in those trends of almost the high tech piece, all of the information at your fingertips, marrying with that high touch resurgence of the travel advisor, like help me make sense of all the information that's out there, help make my trip successful. So I think we've seen that not just in trying to book the perfect trip, but the resurgence of the travel advisor when you're on a trip, when your plans change, you want to have that single point of contact to help you make sense of the changes that are happening whilst you're on the trip. So I think this change in environment has meant that experts give all of our tourists a sense of security, of ease, and for us that's really an emerging trend that the travel agent is becoming more and more important when perhaps we were looking at a more digital environment pre-COVID.
So in other words, you don't mind that we customers go and search all around for the best information, and at the end we come into your shops to close the deal. So the hard work is done at home, and then you conclude the business at your premises.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a good way of viewing things. Angela, again, another question. Mobility is something more than rent-a-cars.
Yeah.
Mobility is a lot of scooters, electric scooters, a lot of other alternative and different models.
Right.
Which is the model that is going to be, I'm not going to say followed by Hertz, but you feel that the industry will follow? Embracing all the different alternatives under the same brand, offering different alternatives from different brands. What type of consumer model do you think will win in the near future?
Look, I think the consumer model that will win are the ones that the customer wants. So being able to provide them what they want when they want it. I think we need to stop thinking about what we can force on people. I think that, mass is going to be important. People want to rent a car when they need a car, and they want to rent a bicycle when they need a bicycle, or a motorcycle, or whatever the transportation, or public transportation at times. It'd be good for us to think about how we leverage that as well, because our job is to get people moving, from place to place, getting from here to there. And I don't know that we can tell them. I think we need to provide the options. And, finding the right options, in the environmentally friendly options, are the ones that we want to make easy for the customers so that they want to do it. Our job is to open up our industry to make it easy for them so that the customer wants to do it versus us forcing them. Because I think forcing people to do things never works well in my mind. But sustainability is going to be critically important, and part of that equation, of course, is to offer alternative modes of transportation. And look, the single most important thing is to be first choice. So while I want my competitors all to be successful, the industry has to be successful for us to be successful, right? But I want to be first choice. So when somebody thinks about going to Spain and they need a car, I want them to think of Hertz. And then if they can't get a Hertz, then they can get some of the others. I mean, but I want the others to have good offerings as well. But that's the same thing for Spain. How do you get people to come back to Spain? Spain has to be first choice. I'm going on a vacation. Where do I want to go? I'm going to Spain. If I can't go to Spain, then then I'll go to wherever. And in order to be first choice, we have to be safe. And we have to stop talking about COVID, but we know COVID's there, but stop talking about it. Make sure that we're safe and open and easy to do business with, so people want to come. But the thing that concerns me a little is some of the discussions that we've had about, we need to really focus on the customer who wants to spend, that the more affluent customer. I think all customers deserve to travel. All customers need to have the ability to see this amazing country called Spain. But depending on where your socioeconomic class is, those are the experiences that, have to resonate. But the fact that somebody that has less income, they still deserve an amazing experience when they come to Spain, but one that's focused on amazing for what they want to experience versus somebody that's more affluent. And I think that's really important.
I think your comments are very interesting from a political and tourism policy point of view. I wanted to make more precise question. Subscription models, free-floating models, how will customers favor more the use in the future of the cars?
Of the cars?
Well, or the different mobility instrument. A subscription model or free-floating?
Again, I think right now I think in the minds of the consumer, it's fabulous to think about this open environment. I have a car, I use the car, I put it out, other people can use the car, and we have a shared economy approach. And I think eventually we might get there. But right now, I think it's still around maybe the safety around having your own vehicle and having control. But I think eventually if we can get it right, and if technology allows us to leverage it, I think people will be more open. But again, I know I've said it 2 or 3 times, but you can't force people. All we can do is provide great experiences so that they can see that it does work. I can see a day where people have a vehicle, they're not using a vehicle, they allow others to use the vehicle. And being able to have a shared economy as well. I think it's in the near future, maybe sooner because of COVID than later.
Okay, thanks a lot. Gabriele, again, as this mixed nationality would claim that you have, Spanish and Italian, you know very well the tourism situation in each 2 of the countries. From a benchmarking point of view, and since this forum tries also to highlight new tourism policies, new tourism ideas, which are 2 things that we in Spain do well that you would like Italians to do? And which things are well done in Italy that you would like to see implemented in Spain?
I'm going to lose the passport anyway, whatever I say. Anyway, no, I think what we admire about on Spain is infrastructure. Which we certainly miss in Italy. The level of infrastructure in Spain is fantastic, level of airports and the AVE system, the fast train, and not only because it's in place now, but it's been in place for many, many years, so this has been a very competitive advantage. And the second, when I worked in Spain many years ago, I think it was 96, 97, we were called by the Ministry of Tourism at that time to discuss a 2020 plan. And I was admiring the government to have this kind of approach, 20 years before we were already hoping and planning. In Italy, we don't even know whether the 31st of January, the rules for traveling will be changed, banned, we don't know. So planning is fantastic in this country. Infrastructure is very, very good. And also the locations are organized, because when you look at Canary Islands, it's a system on itself. the Balears for Italy, which is the Italians love the Balear Islands, are organized, airports, structure, very good offer, hotel offer, etc. In Italy, probably we have more tourism inside, not cost tourism, but more towns, so Rome, Venice, Florence, and a lot of internal attraction more than beach. We are very weak in the beach offer in Italy, while I think we are stronger in museums, in things to see. Italy is still the most important UNESCO sites, is #1. Even if the Chinese are trying everything to invent new locations, Italy is still ahead. So there is more of cultural offer probably, I don't know, and very weak beach holiday.
Okay, Gabriel, I think that Gabriele has been very political in the answer. I would like you to be a little bit more straight into the point. You are in 40 countries around the world. What do you envy of tourism policies you have favored from in places around the world, and not only Cuba and the Dominican Republic? You are in Asia, you are all over Europe. And what, by the contrary, two good practices of Spain you would export to some of these countries?
I can see that you want me to lose the passport as well. So I don't know where we're going to be based from now on.
We go together somewhere.
Having said that, it's a shame because among the 47 different countries that Melia is present, and I can only give you a few good examples of this collaboration between the private and the public sector. But one of them, as you said, could be Dominican Republic or Cuba, because not only previous to COVID, where we had several meetings during the year, but during the COVID, we had either monthly or weekly calls with the Minister of Tourism of these two countries in order to see the evolution of the COVID, not only in their country, but as well in the different feeder markets, and establishing a roadmap to see what the actions needed to be taken. And I can say that a huge percentage of these suggestions made by the private sector were taken into account. A good example could be what they have done in the Dominican Republic, given PCR free to all the visits, given insurance for COVID during their stay. At the end, they were providing a safety to all the passengers. So the results are there, and the pickup, and we've seen already the reservations in the last couple of months in these places have been going up monthly by double digits. So there have been clear, good examples of this collaboration. At the regional level, I must say that I have a very good relationship with the Balearic government, and as well, we've been working very closely during not only during the pandemic time, but previously, and it's a good example of collaborating between the private sector and public sector, and the results, thanks God, are there. I mean, in terms of the recovery, in terms of the number of passengers and the revenues that have been generated, mainly during high season, in these places compared to other places where we are established and we don't have this fluent communication between the private and the public sector.
Yeah.
Well, I think time is to start to run. I think all of you, and there's still time for last intervention for any one of you, I think you commonly shared that even though I was looking for more forward-looking views, all of you state that security is the name of the game for the time being, in different aspects, not only health, but providing the customer with all the insurance that his trips are going to be efficient, are going to be experimental. And in addition to that, any last comment you would like to give us on that could give us a little bit more forward-looking view of how the industry is going to develop, and particularly how in Spain we should follow your whatever indications. I would appreciate very quick, Steve, if you want, or Craig.
Yes, I would take the opportunity to echo something Craig had said earlier. Pay close attention to the younger generation of travelers as they go explore the world, and they do explore the whole world. They're much more interested in the experience of what they are doing in the location than necessarily where they are staying or the amenities. So to the degree that different businesses can attract in different cities, different regions, can point out what is what the younger generation would love to do in those locations, would be a great way to stay ahead over the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Can I just say,
Greg.
can I
Yeah,
add something
please.
there?
Sorry.
Because I think it's an important point. Like these younger travelers, it's not that they don't want service, they don't want services that 50-year-olds want. They want internet. They need what they want when they travel. So don't think that young people don't want anything. They're very demanding and they're very smart, they're very intuitive, they know what's going on, they're not clueless. Do not underestimate them. And they will be 40 years old and 50-year-olds coming back with their families. So when they come here, we want to deliver a great experience for what they want. And that's really important. You know, when young people travel, that doesn't mean they don't want a safe place, a clean place, and an ability to use their technology. That's critically important. And I think Spain has an opportunity because it does attract lots of young travelers to do it really well, so they keep coming back. And they come back with their families and so on and so forth. So I want to make sure that we don't underestimate what these people really want, these younger travelers, and that we provide an opportunity and an experience that is great for what they're expecting.
Thanks for the comment. I think we fully share your views, Greg. Very quick.
I think for me it's really unlocking those small businesses, local communities, immersive experiences when people are traveling, so that a tourist doesn't feel like a tourist. They're not going to tourist restaurants, they're going where the locals eat. They're buying their food where the locals buy their food. So I think it's making sure that as we think about inbound travelers, it's not about major cities, large corporations necessarily, it's about how we marry that large corporation with local, smaller experiences that are around the local area. So I think for us as we look into 22, it's about marrying all of the things that we know well with more of that in-depth local community, small business flair.
Thank you. I think authenticity and sharing the local values is part of the experience that we have to enhance. And we definitely have a lot of culture, gastronomy, and a lot of attractiveness to lean very much on this local sharing of local values, which on the other side, local societies are requesting the industry to do. And not only the touristification that we blame in some occasions, and rather than sharing the values, making them participate and giving the warmest welcome to visitors, which is another part I think should be from our experience. Gabriele, what would you like to end up your intervention?
When we look at a 5-year plan or 3-year plan, because now it's difficult to even do the 2022 plan, we have two or three factors. One is the destinations. Due to the change of temperature, change of probably the level of the sea, of all these major factors, we might see changes in the offer. Some establishment can be taken out of the market for different difficulties. We see already in some islands. And this might require for the future massive capitals to create a new place, like in Saudi Arabia. There are 3 projects, very large projects for hotel and resorts, and Chile, other places where we might see very new and interesting locations. Another thing which worries us or is a point is the price of fuel, because it's going very high, and we don't know how this will impact, especially long haul on travel, and so. And then probably the problem of technology, which is now not the problem, but is the need. And we always have the feeling to be late. And technology is becoming one. In my company, we've tripled the people working in technology in the last 5-6 years. So I think that we are more and more becoming technology-driven, whatever we do.
Yeah.
Gabriel, to end up the panel.
The best thing, as I said before, is the desire to travel. The willingness to travel is there, so that's the best thing that can happen to our industry. If you provide safety, if we provide flexibility, the demand will be there and the customers will be there. But the markets that will be the winners, that will beneficiate the most, are the ones that will work very closely is what I said before, this private and public sector. With the tsunami that we have faced during the last 22 months of the COVID, is more needed than ever to work very closely with the local and private sector to face all the issues regarding the COVID. And as an industry, my major concern is after these 22 months of clear uncertainty, we need to work very closely with the young people, with the universities, making sure that we as an industry are an attractive option for all of them. Because not only what it used to be previously, but nowadays we need the technical tools that were not needed in the past regarding digital, regarding sustainability, regarding safety, regarding having this digital approach to the customer with the human touch. So all these skills were needed previously, but now are even more needed. And we need as an industry to be attractive, to bring all these talent people, because otherwise I'm sure we're going to suffer as an industry much more than others.
Well, thank you very much. I think we all shared your views that experience is the name of the game in the future, providing security to the customer. And I would like to end up with the words of Gabriel. If we don't close together and won't work together, the private sector and the public sector, we will definitely not make feasible the changes and transformations that the industry needs. And in that respect, I hope and we look forward that in Spain, we cross the barrier of theoretic thinking on public and private sector willingness into real terms that ensure that that public and private sector can be taken into action. Well, thank you very much, and I would like to give a big round of applause to our guests and participants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let make us a picture. A picture, 1 second.
With face mask?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Well.
But we can, I don't think, yeah.
Without, I'll
Yeah.
we can social distance a little.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
No, not great.
Thanks a lot for your intervention.